Europe's pointless temper tantrum. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, once again, Donald Trump and his team remind the world that the United States is the only power capable of holding the West together by protecting Europe from its own stupidity and weakness.
I have tremendous respect for both the people of Greenland and the people of Denmark, tremendous respect. But every NATO ally has an obligation to be able to defend their own territory. And the fact is, no nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States.
And what have we ever really asked of NATO? For most of its history, the relationship has been lopsided. Now, that was great for the other NATO countries, but it was a lousy deal for the United States, our taxpayers. Other presidents, of course, they just let the imbalance slide, but not Trump.
I just say this. NATO has treated the United States of America very unfairly. We never asked for anything. We never got anything. We actually took care of the needs of NATO for years and years, which I felt was always unfair, so I got NATO to pay, because they're rich countries.
Yeah, all told, their GDP is about on par with the United States. So why couldn't they have contributed more for their own defense, up until now at least? So, and you bet Europe is still mad about having to spend more of that money on defense. They love the old deal, but again, because of the tough love of our president, old Europe is being forced to look in the mirror. The Euro elites are so snooty, they have to put on a show of defiance to save face.
I think it's sad and totally absurd that we have an American president who's blackmailing the rest of us, trying to get a piece of land or buy it through threats. It's a new low, so to speak. We will never back down.
A new low? Now, does she think we're about to take national security advice from a socialist country that allowed itself to be a dumping ground for hundreds of thousands of radical Islamic refugees? I don't think so. So whether we're talking about Sweden or the UK or France or Canada, look, throwing fits about Greenland is just another example of fools looking at a gift horse in the mouth.
We're building a golden dome that's going to, just by its very nature, going to be defending Canada. Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
But remember that Carney himself was kind of an accidental leader of Canada, and now he's just a laughingstock. Because it doesn't take a geopolitical genius to understand that a secure America means a more secure NATO.
This would not be a threat to NATO. This would greatly enhance the security of the entire alliance. We want a piece of ice for world protection, and they won't give it. They have a choice. You can say yes, and we will be very appreciative, or you can say no, and we will remember. A strong and secure America means a strong NATO.
Of course it does, and there may be an upside here. Some leaders and former leaders in Europe may realize, maybe we do have to think more of our own independence.
This is a wake-up call, a bigger one than we ever had. And I think that Europe is going to look at its strength, look at its weaknesses, do a big SWOT analysis and decide what do we need to do to be strong by ourselves, to be more independent, to rely on the internal trade that we do with each other so that we can just not ignore, but at least be prepared and have a plan B, just in case the normal relationship is not restored.
Okay, you just can't take her all that seriously, though. We found out that she walked out of a dinner when Howard Lutnick was basically making the case for America first being better for NATO and European countries, for their security. If we're stronger, they're going to be safer and stronger. She got up and walked out. They essentially canceled the dinner and said no to the dessert. So that's how mature she is. A few weeks ago, when slow-witted pundits were saying that Trump wasn't serious about Greenland, that he was just doing it to stir the pot, he was being provocative for the sake of being provocative, remember all those comments? The angle told you that Trump is serious. and that it was only a matter of when, not if, we took de facto control of Greenland. And there were a few smart Europeans who understood what was happening. It's about protecting the Arctic.
President Trump is right. Other leaders in NATO are right. We need to defend the Arctic. We know that China and Russia are increasingly active in the Arctic. There are 8 countries bordering on the Arctic. 7 are a member of NATO. There's only one country bordering on the Arctic outside NATO, and that's Russia. And I would argue there is a 9th country, which is China, which is increasingly active in the Arctic region. So President Trump and other leaders are right. We have to do more there. We have to protect the Arctic.
And it's about respecting the country who pays the lion's share of the bills.
In terms of security, United States of America paying 65% for NATO and Europeans 35%, we have to consider what Donald Trump would like to say about the security, because he's responsible for security of the world as the leader.
Once again, I'm very proud to be half Polish. And today in Switzerland, Trump announced that a framework for Greenland was already taking shape.
Deal that people jumped at, really fantastic for the USA, gets everything we wanted, including especially real national security and international security.
How so? Can you give us some details, please?
Well, the deal is going to be put out pretty soon. I mean, we'll see. It's right now a little bit in progress, but pretty far along. It gets us everything we needed to get.
The president tapped J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to lead those negotiations. So look, when this is over, we will have clarified the ownership of Greenland in a way that's going to redound to our safety and thus the safety of the West. So preventing hostile powers from shooting missiles over Greenland to target the United States or our military assets, this is an urgent priority. And frankly, it should have been addressed decades ago by American presidents. And long before Trump came into office, he understood that pleading with Europe to do the right thing with China, with military spending, with trade, pleading with Europe accomplishes zero. You need to exercise leverage, which is exactly what he did with the Greenland issue. Remember, no options were taken off the table, and a tariff hike was floated. So Europe then huffed and puffed and reacted, fulminating with outrage, dire predictions. And of course, at the end, the Europeans are coming to the table. And this is why California Governor Gavin Newsom was so upset yesterday, and why he begged Europe to fight Trump harder, because he even saw that this was going to be a big win for Trump and a big win for America, and he knew the Europeans would cave and negotiate some deal with Trump. So rule of thumb, the American left never takes the side of the American people in a situation such as this. So it's embarrassing, really, that after watching this man, Donald Trump, for over a decade, that so many supposed experts still don't understand how President Trump operates. They still don't get it. So anyone who predicted that Donald Trump would destroy NATO, Donald Trump's going to crash the dollar, he's going to leave us more vulnerable than under Biden, they should never, and I mean never, work in political commentary again. Because 1 year into this Trump presidency, America is safer, America is stronger, America is richer, America is freer than we were under President Otto Penn, under President Obama, and yes, under President George W. Bush. Bottom line, it is not possible for any U.S. president to make things better for us here at home without standing up to the rest of the world when our interests collide with theirs. So Trump's predecessors, they were too worried about offending the global community and not worried enough about fighting for us. And that's the angle.
Daddy's back, and he's bringing home the bacon. Davos rolled out the red carpet, but Trump's a realist, and he can read a room.
It's great to be back in beautiful Davos, Switzerland, and to address so many respected business leaders, so many friends, few enemies.
A few enemies flew no kings flags over Switzerland. They forgot Europeans still have a king. The Europeans can be a little two-faced.
They loved me. They called me daddy, right, last time? A very smart man said, he's our daddy. He's running it. I was like running it. I went from running it to being a terrible human being.
Daddy can be great until you misbehave. Then you need him to whip you into shape. Sometimes the Europeans think they can run things on their own. We don't know if that's nostalgia or delusion, but it's affecting our relationship.
Certain places in Europe are not even recognizable, frankly, anymore. They're not recognizable. And we can argue about it, but there's no argument. Friends come back from different places. I don't want to insult anybody and say I don't recognize it. And I love Europe, and I want to see Europe go good, but it's not heading in the right direction.
Europe used to be great, but they started too many wars they couldn't win, opened their borders, stopped having babies, and went full-blown socialist because they knew we had their back. One of the worst things they did was listen to Al Gore. That's how China swooped in and ate their lunch.
There are windmills all over Europe. There are windmills all over the place, and they are losers. China's very smart. They make them, they sell them for a fortune. They sell them to the stupid people that buy them, but they don't use them themselves.
Europe's buying windmills from China and oil from Russia, and they're wondering why they're barely slogging along. They must be blind.
I called up Emmanuel Macron. I watched him yesterday with those beautiful sunglasses. What the hell happened?
Macron can't see straight with the shades on his face, and neither can the whole continent. Finland, who we like, is getting too big for its britches. The Prime Minister said, "We don't need Uncle Sam. We can go it alone."
Can Europe defend itself? My answer is unequivocally yes.
Without the Americans?
Without the Americans, I mean...
How?
Liz, well, look...
But you're relying on them for these key elements.
Even the NATO chief was like, "Really, Finland? Really?"
Alex, I love you, but you are not producing enough. Your defense industrial base has to ramp up, and you know it, so please spend time on that.
There comes a time in any father's life when they sit their kid down and say, "Son, you can't keep asking for money. I'm not a bank. Move out of the garage and get a job." And at first, you might not like it. You might think Daddy's being mean. But when you're older, you realize that Daddy knows best.
I really believe we can be happy that he is there because he has forced us in Europe to step up, to face the consequences, that we have to take care more of our own defense. I'm absolutely convinced without Donald Trump, we would not have taken those decisions, and they are crucial, particularly for the European and the Canadian side of NATO, to really grow up in the post-Cold War world.
The Europeans know they need to grow up and pull their weight. They used to be able to shake down Barack and Biden and flatter them with empty promises and those European accents. And our leaders fell for it because they fetishized the concept of alliances, like a grad student who doesn't know the first thing about real power. Poland, who we also love, says, "Oh yeah, over 100 years ago, we beat Lenin."
You are not happy with this answer, I suppose, of Mark Rutte, that we need Donald Trump in the European Union, but we believe in our military service in Poland. I would like to add that Poland won with the Soviets and Bolsheviks. Finland won with the Soviets and Bolsheviks.
Okay, Poland, that was World War I. How'd World War II go?
Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps.
The Europeans have a very selective memory. Hitler dominated Denmark, and we babysat Greenland for, what, 4 years? And we don't even get a thank you.
After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How stupid were we to do that? But we did it. But we gave it back. But how ungrateful are they now?
Trump's still looking for spoils from World War II. Greenland's not too much to ask for. It's just an iceberg.
So we want a piece of ice for world protection, and they won't give it. We've never asked for anything else, and we could have kept that piece of land, and we didn't. So they have a choice. You can say yes, and we will be very appreciative, or you can say no, and we will remember.
Trump's like, you live in my home, you're on the family phone plan, we have dogs that you never take care of, you said you would, but you never do. A little appreciation would be nice. It's not like we want Greenland so our friends can't have it. The Danes, the French, the Finns, the Poles, it's all for us. It's even for the Greenlanders. We'll pay for it, develop it, and defend it. And that'll give the Europeans more time to fish and ride Vespas and go to the sauna, do whatever it is they do. All they have to do is sign on the dotted line.
All we're asking for is to get Greenland, including right title and ownership, because you need the ownership to defend it. You can't defend it on a lease. Number one, legally it's not defensible that way, totally. And number two, psychologically, who the hell wants to defend a license agreement?
When you rent a house, let's be honest, you kind of beat it up. You spill, you stain, you scuff, because you know someone else owns it, and they'll take care of it. I mean, I don't do that when I rent, but people do. And when you own a house, not only do you defend it, but you fix it up, you paint it, maybe put in a tennis court. This is a real estate transaction. Sure, Greenland's not officially on the market, but sometimes people don't realize they want to sell until someone makes them an offer. And it's not gunboat diplomacy like Venezuela. We don't even have an aircraft carrier anywhere near Greenland.
The military's not on the table. I don't think it'll be necessary. I really don't. Okay. I think people are going to use better judgment. They'll use their best judgment, and I don't think that will not be necessary.
Trump says we're not invading Greenland, and Denmark tells us to go F ourselves. Who's being insane here? The Europeans mobilized and deployed 34 soldiers to defend Greenland from the U.S. military. The question the media should be asking is, have the Europeans lost it? Denmark's being so ridiculous, we're not even negotiating with them.
Mr. President, the Danish foreign minister rejected your call to negotiate on Greenland. What will...
I didn't call him.
No, sorry.
I don't like getting it secondhand. If he wants to tell me, he'll tell me that to my face.
And when will you be discussing this?
I have no idea.
When you said
I'll be discussing it with this man right here.
Mr. President,
he's frankly more important.
Ooh, Trump went over Denmark's head to go negotiate directly with NATO. And guess what? Trump's leaving Davos with a deal. Quote, based on a very productive meeting that I have had with the Secretary General of NATO, we have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. This solution, if consummated, will be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations. So it's a framework for a deal. We can call that progress.
Does it still include the United States having ownership of Greenland like you've said you wanted?
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal. And I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and minerals and everything else.
Bret Baier spoke to NATO Chief Mark Rutte, who confirmed Europe is going to be giving in a little on Greenland.
Today, this agreement on working collectively on this deal getting done on the Arctic region, I think we can really commend him for taking that leadership role. He is doing exactly what I hope he would do when he was re-elected, knowing him from his first term in office. And he is right that collectively we have to protect the Arctic region.
This is why you can't trust the media. All week, what'd they tell us? Trump was going to attack Greenland. We were going to go to war with NATO and fracture the alliance. They said he was mentally ill. But wait, Trump and the NATO chief are setting up a deal for Greenland. And there's not going to be any trade war, any war. And Marco and J.D. Vance are going to work out the details. Europe and America are going to be rich and safe. And Greenland gets McDonald's. It's a win for everybody. Everybody knows if a civilization isn't growing, it's dying. Now, we're not overextending. It's just a nice buffer, a nice piece of property with a few native villagers who can help us mine minerals and start rooting for the New England Patriots. You'd think of all countries, Canada, our neighbor to the north, would be ecstatic, but they're acting like we dumped them.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Look how the media is covering this. Trump backs down on taking Greenland. So when he was going to invade, he's a bully. And when he doesn't invade, he's weak. Even after he got a handshake deal, the media spins it like he's retreating. Well, I guess he's retreating with Greenland in his pocket. Are American reporters upset that we're about to acquire the world's biggest island? Or are they upset that they were wrong and Trump's getting results? Either way, America's expanding. And when there's an American boom, we boom together.
I met Mr. Toyota in Japan. So what's your name? Toyota. I said, oh, do you own the car company? Yes, 92%. I said, you didn't have to be that specific. But I said, you're rich. Yes, I'm rich. But he just announced he's going to do $10 billion worth of plants.
Davos, to steal Charlie Kirk's words, was a turning point. America has reset the agenda and is schooling the world on what works and what doesn't. Open borders, outsourcing jobs, printing money to pay for socialism is a death sentence. And it wasn't just Trump delivering that message. American CEOs flew to Davos to tell the Euros straight to their face. Listen.
You cannot imagine how painful it was each and every day under the Biden administration to look at what new crazy proposal was being put into place to solve a problem that didn't even exist. There were so many decisions that were so poorly thought out in terms of economic consequences. It cost the U.S. economy dearly. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Biden would go overseas. He'd sign every treaty the Europeans put in front of him. He gave away billions of dollars. AutoPen went wild. Energy prices sky high. China, Russia ran wild. And then he'd go doze off at meetings or wander in an Italian field all alone and hit the sheets before the dinner party. And guess what? The Europeans loved him. Why? Because he was asleep and they had the man on a leash. He just handed out checks, patted everybody on the back, and forgot what century it was. What Trump's doing in Europe, this sends a message to China and Russia that the alliance is strong, that the American economy is back and ambitious, and we can create a new world order that works for us, not them. And that is the definition of America first.
An important message: don't ever underestimate Europe's ability to screw things up. Historically, as a continent, their decision-making, it has been atrocious. Thankfully, President Trump, he is delivering much-needed perspective. Take a look.
The explosion of prosperity and conclusion and progress that built the West did not come from our tax codes. It ultimately came from our very special culture. This is the precious inheritance that America and Europe have in common. We share it. We have to defend that culture and rediscover the spirit that lifted the West from the depths of the Dark Ages to the pinnacle of human achievement. We believe deeply in the bonds we share with Europe as a civilization. I want to see it do great. Europe and those countries have to do their thing. They have to get out of the culture that they've created over the last 10 years. It's horrible what they're doing to themselves. They're destroying themselves. It's beautiful, beautiful places. We want strong allies, not seriously weakened ones. We want Europe to be strong.
Now, Europe is destroying itself from within while ignoring major threats abroad and taking America, of course, for granted. Not any longer under Donald Trump. For example, here's what the president said about Denmark and their resistance to a Greenland deal. Take a look.
In World War II, when Denmark fell to Germany after just 6 hours of fighting and was totally unable to defend either itself or Greenland. So the United States was then compelled, we did it, we felt an obligation to do it, to send our own forces to hold the Greenland territory. And then after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps. After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How stupid were we to do that? But we did it. People thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force. All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland.
Now, he did not stop at Denmark. President Trump also shared an amazing story about negotiating with the French president, Emmanuel Macron. Take a look.
I said, Emmanuel, you've been taking advantage of the United States for 30 years with prescription drugs. You really should do it, and you will do it. I have no doubt. In fact, I am 100% sure you're going to. No, I will not do it. He said, here's the story, Emmanuel. The answer is you're going to do it. You're going to do it fast. And if you don't, I'm putting a 25% tariff on everything that you sell into the United States and a 100% tariff on your wines and champagnes. And that's about 10 times more than what I'm requesting. And you're going to do it. I don't want to go public with it, but you may make me do that. No, Donald, I will do it. I will do it. It took me, on average, 3 minutes a country.
All right, President Trump, he also had a few choice words for Canada, which recently embraced new trade relations with China. Oh, that's brilliant. Our friends in Canada. Oh, Canada. Great idea. Take a look.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Yeah, Mark, you might want to remember that. Now, clearly, President Trump was a breath of fresh air for many at Davos. Like always, he says what many people are thinking but won't say. In fact, the president of Switzerland welcomed Donald Trump with open arms, saying, quote, Davos without you is not truly Davos. Meanwhile, NATO's Secretary General praising President Trump for being right on Greenland. Take a look.
When it comes to the Arctic, I think President Trump is right. Other leaders in NATO are right. We need to defend the Arctic. We know that the sea lanes are opening up. We know that China and Russia are increasingly active in the Arctic. There are 8 countries bordering on the Arctic. 7 are a member of NATO. And there's only 1 country bordering on the Arctic outside NATO, and that's Russia. And I would argue there is a 9th country, which is China, which is increasingly active in the Arctic region. So President Trump and other leaders are right. We have to do more there. We have to protect the Arctic.
Now, there is no doubt the free world, and that means NATO nations, Western allies in Europe, they need a strong America, including in the Arctic. Now, some of Western Europe's leaders, they may not like to hear it, but they're completely defenseless without the U.S. and our military might. Not only does the U.S. have superior firepower, technology, logistics, President Trump will share the Golden Dome with them, but we also have the will to fight for our lives and defend our great way of life. Europe's leaders, they would be wise to listen up to the lyrics from one of the president's favorite songs, frequently played at the end of his rallies. You can't always get what you want, but you might just find that you get what you need.
Yes. Okay. All right. Just wait around after the show. We're going to do it again. Happy Wednesday, everyone. So yesterday, President Trump reminded Americans that he signed an executive order to bring back mental institutions and insane asylums. In a related story, guess which show has a brand new studio? Look at him. It was during that same presser that President Trump said the only thing Somalis are good at is piracy. True. Just ask Ilhan Omar's brother. He definitely got that booty. Wow, it's like they were going to stop, but then they decided to keep going. Yeah, it's like being on an empty gas tank. Okay.
Earlier today, President Trump arrived in Davos, Switzerland, for the World Economic Forum. His first act of business, announcing that the Swiss Miss Girl is a 7 at best. Yeah. Native American group is suing New York for banning native names or imagery from schools. It's all in an attempt for them to reclaim their school mascot. Yeah. Her name, Coyote Ugly. James Comer says he rejected an offer to interview Bill Clinton about Jeffrey Epstein because Bill demanded that there would be no witnesses, saying it would only be Comer, Hillary, and a rope. Women are going to something called rage rooms, where they pay to smash old TVs, furniture, and dishes. But even more destructive, they're allowed to vote. That is the best joke you're gonna hear this year.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah. To protest ICE, dozens of restaurants in Minnesota are planning to shut down on Friday. So fans of Somali food will have to have diarrhea at home. Yeah. You don't like that Somali food, eh? And finally, Michelle Obama was on the Call Her Daddy podcast today. It makes sense since Barack has been calling her daddy for years. I'm a little troubled by that one. All right. So the left has a new song and dance they're inflicting on us, and it's called Performative Ignorance, where people fake a lack of knowledge about the most basic laws of life and then expect you to explain it. They pretend that common sense is somehow this foreign substance, as alien to them as a paycheck is to Jim Acosta or a vagina to Don Lemon. Yeah.
But not us, right, Mackie?
They claim to be baffled by the simplest concepts. What do you mean boys can't become women? Can you explain this to me? Let's have a conversation. Of course, it doesn't help that their idea of a conversation is standing an eighth of an inch from someone's face, screaming like they're the sergeant from Full Metal Jacket. They think volume equals value, and if you respectfully disagree, they'll respectfully spit in your face. But since performative ignorance takes no effort, it then requires us to do the legwork, usually under stressful circumstances. It's like someone challenging you to a 40-yard dash, then pretending they don't know what running means. And then, what are sneakers? What do legs do? Forget dragging them over the finish line. You have to drag them over to the starting line, too. It's amazing what we have to explain. How do jails work? Why is bail important? Why is an erection in a women's locker room a non-starter? It's like explaining why the sky is blue to a 4-year-old. The only difference is the 4-year-old won't call you racist when they look stupid. It's funny that the left spent decades claiming that they were the smart ones. They went from pretending to be Mr. Spock to Forrest Gump. And part of the scam is to ignore what's obvious to everyone else. Like when gross men pretend to be women. You know when you see it, fat weirdos who dye their hair purple and slap on some support hose. And don't question which hose it's supporting. But the left plays along. Oh, isn't she stunning and brave? Especially when shaving her bikini line near her nutsack. Yeah. Thank you. That's a good one. But the goal of performative ignorance is to exhaust you with dumb questions while pushing nonsense under the assumption there's no knowledge to refute it. To them, communism is always a new thing. You know, even though there are still people alive who suffered through it, waiting in line for toilet paper, and not because Jerry Nadler nuked the bathroom. And ICE raids, oh, that's sadistic exercise. No, ICE has detained roughly 400,000 people, and the percent of properly detained illegals is between like 99.8 and 99.95%. I haven't seen a success rate like that since I was cruising the singles bars. But if you tell them that, they'll say math is racist. Mention that raids are caused by politicians refusing to share info between local and Fed law enforcement, and they'll freeze up like my pool boys when I put on my rubber glove. They'll accuse ICE of checking papers. Well, how the else do you find out whether someone is here illegally? You know, ask for a stool sample and check for refried beans? Right. Yeah, I'm fired. Thank you. But in reality, they're causing the very chaos that they complain about. It's like the cheating spouse who keeps getting caught and blames his partner's insecurities, which is why it's pointless to explain things. Because what's driving these creeps isn't a desire for enlightenment, it's ego. Just like their purple hair and 6 nose rings, it's so you pay attention to them. It's why they crashed that church the other day. And after acting ghoulish, they expressed shock over people's outrage. Oh, but isn't this free speech? We're just asking questions. No, you're not. Harassing people, stalking, shoving and blocking traffic isn't speech, just like someone with a penis isn't a woman. Seriously, if women are so hard to define, how come Don Lemon never has sex with them?
Let's welcome tonight's guest.
His act was the inspiration for the sympathy card, comedian Joe Mackey. He looks like a guy who would buy your leftover pain pills, comedian Jim Florentine. Her book was 270 pages, but her audiobook lasts 2 minutes. Co-host about number 10 Campagna. And they bought his baby clothes at the Big and Tall store. Former NWA World Champion and host of the Planet Towers. You know, Joe, I see this performative ignorance everywhere, and it reminds me, it's like a legion of your female fans that just seems to be everywhere.
Well, I'd argue if I could, Greg.
Yeah.
It's true, but...
Is it because of those sweaters? Is that how you get the women?
They show off my muffin top, which is very attractive to my fans.
Really?
Or of me to love. We probably lost a few viewers there, but that's okay. I do have something pertinent to say, because you're right on with this monologue. A lot of times you'll be having a political discussion with the left, and they'll say these phrases that seem like they're adjacent to what you're talking about until you put any thought into it, you know? You'll be talking about illegal immigration, and they'll say, no human is illegal. And I'm like, no one was arguing that point. This isn't Planet of the Apes, and I'm not Dr. Zaius,
Yes.
and you're not Taylor. Or you'll be talking about abortion, and they'll say, like, women's rights are human rights. And, like, nobody was arguing that women aren't human.
Yes.
Even Dr. Zaius in Planet of the Apes was like, well, Taylor has to go, and so does his girlfriend, Bright Eyes.
Yes. Whatever happened, you know, I Googled Bright Eyes.
Linda Harrison, beautiful gal.
Beautiful gal. She's still alive. I think she lives like in Southern California somewhere in her 70s. You know, Chuck Heston, he got that.
Call me.
Yeah, you know, she's still hot. Jim, isn't this, I always think this thing of always asking these questions is a ploy to exhaust us. Like they go like, oh, what do you mean? But as if they haven't done the homework, and you have to.
Yeah, and then they, you know, you can't criticize, liberals will never criticize each other.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? They always think Trump people are in a cult.
Yeah.
You know, but liberals are in a cult because you can't say anything bad about it. Trump people will actually criticize Trump if he does something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that Rob Reiner tweet. People criticize him for that, but the liberals will never do that.
Yeah, he wasn't strong enough on that one.
Yeah, he could have been a little more brutal.
Could have been a little more brutal. I felt the same way. You know what it reminds me of, though? It reminds me, like, what if you use this type of performative ignorance, like, in real life? Like, you ask a woman to go out on a date, and she says no. What do you mean by no?
I'm going to try that. 'Cause to me, no means maybe.
That's so true. That's how they don't take no for an answer.
Right. So it means maybe. And I love performative ignorance. That's gonna be my next comedy special, a title. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. I'm gonna try to make it a thing, Emily. Speaking of a thing, that made no sense. It's kind of weird, though, because I think they're also questioning whether or not there's such thing as common sense. Like, common sense is like something a collective will come up with, and it's not somehow innate. You know, it's like, who are you to say what a boy is?
Well, I feel like they think that intellectualism or thoughtfulness means obliterating common sense and facts. And there's a little bit of truth to, you know, questioning, like, well why? Or tell me this. But they have absolutely exploded things that are fundamental truths that this entire society is based on. So you're right. What is a woman? Well, now there are dozens and dozens of genders. Mm-hmm. There are dozens and dozens of meanings to normal words. And the problem is when you start pushing back on actual definitions and what is a given, nothing can exist anymore. How far is that going to be? I mean, in any legislature, are they now going to be like, well, this word could mean a million things? The reality is that when you go, for example, to an airport, do you ever see someone messing around in the women's restroom? Like, no. When there's federal space, actual federal space and federal property, there's no messing around. When you're in courts, actual federal courts, there's no messing around. So these guys just skip around their own playgrounds because they're allowed to. They're coddled. The people you see on the streets of Minneapolis, they don't have actual real jobs. They've never seen actual violence. They've never seen the stuff we see here on 6th Avenue on a daily basis. Yeah. So they're allowed to skip around in their playground because they've never seen real. And God knows they've never seen the real violence that those illegal immigrants that have been hauled off the streets have done, like raping children and murdering everyone and sodomizing everyone. If they
I knew you were going to bring up sodomizing.
I keep saying it because I want to.
Every day she keeps mentioning sodomizing.
I know. Because I want everyone to know that's what we're talking about, because they keep trying to blur the lines that we're talking about our neighbors.
Yeah, I'm going to get my rug at home sodomized later. It's got this huge stain in it. Isn't that what that means, getting it sodomized?
Yeah.
I don't know. I rented a sodomizer at the grocery store.
Yes, that's what it means, Greg. It's a cleaning product, yes.
Yes. So Emily makes a great point. It's kind of like what you were saying. It's like they would never try this in a black church. But also, they do this stuff under stressful conditions. Like, they'll get in your face when you're in Mass and then ask you to explain something.
Well, you got to hand it to them. They picked the perfect fools to run their errands. That's the best way to describe it. You have to understand how enticing it is to be a liberal, to be under their bubble, because you don't have to be accountable. You don't have to meet any levels, or there isn't a bar. You don't have to be in shape. You don't have to have a job. You don't have to have a sexuality. You don't have to have any. You can be whatever you want to be, whatever's in your fantasy on your keyboard, and they all come together, and there's only one common thing they have, is that President Trump is evil, and anyone associated with him is trying to ruin the world. So they make these people who live in, this is one of the pockets in America, that we have a whole generation of people that don't have to put any effort forward in life because America has worked so well to where you can be a person who doesn't participate. We used to call them social deviants. Right? They didn't want to be a part of. They didn't want to be a part of the American way. They didn't want to dress. They didn't want to be a part of the culture. Now they're being told that they're special, every one of them. And here's the thing: you can be, and they're all ignorant. Yeah. And it's not performative. They found their base. Yeah. They found they have nothing better to do, and they only attack things for cameras. So if you stand in front of a police officer and yell and scream at them, they've been told they can't touch you.
Yeah.
That's why they were so shocked with what happened Lo and behold, you try to run a police officer off or an ICE off with a car, he's going to shoot you.
Yeah.
What? They can't do that to us because so this whole thing is, there is no conversation to be had. Do not engage these people. When they say, well, do you know what a woman is? And just say, no, I don't know. And go about your business. It's not, you can't engage with them because all they want is the moment.
Yes, exactly. That's if they win, it's like the flat earthers. You argue with them, they win because you're talking about it.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.